Hello. In this video we're going to look at activity 3 from the GCSE IV characteristics required practical. This time we're going to investigate a diode. So you can see here that we've got our various different components for our circuit. We've got four C-type batteries, 1.5 volts each, wired in series. So potentially we've got a 6-volt supply to our circuit. We've got our switch. From previous activities we've got our variable resistor with our marking so that we can take 5 different readings. We've got a 10 ohm resistor, so we're using this in the series circuit to protect the diode. We've got our diode here, so I'll show you that. Here's the circuit symbol for our diode. You notice that we've got 2 different coloured terminals on this holder, one negative and one positive. That's because the diodes will only operate if they're wired incorrectly. We've also got 2 multimeters. So one multimeter we're going to use as an ammeter, and the other multimeter we're going to use as a voltmeter. So let's connect our circuit up. So we're going to take a lead from the black negative terminal of our cell holder here, connect it to the switch. We're going to connect lead for the second terminal of our switch to our variable resistor. Going to connect a lead from the second terminal of our variable resistor to what is our multimeter, and this is going to be our ammeter. So we're going to connect that into our COM socket. And then we're going to connect a lead into the 10 amp socket of our multimeter here and connect that to our resistor. We're wiring these components all in series, so we're connecting a lead from the second terminal of our resistor to the black negative terminal of our diode holder here, and then we're going to connect the lead from the red positive terminal on our diode holder to the red positive terminal of our cells here. So now our circuit is wired in series. I'll switch our ammeter to 10 amp setting. We have our variable resistor at its minimum setting. Let's just switch our circuit on and we can see that we have a reading. We have 0.21 amps. We're also going to take some readings across our diode. So we're using the second multimeter as a voltmeter. So we need to wire that in parallel to our diode. So if we use a lead here into the COM socket, we connect that to this terminal here, and then we need a lead in our volts, ohms and milliamp socket, and that will go into this socket here. So we switch our multimeter to 20 volts DC, switch our circuit on. You can see that we have our current reading of 0.21 amps, and we also have a voltage reading. A potential difference across our diode is 0.75 volts. So now if we go to our second marker reading on our variable resistor, we switch the circuit on and we have a current of 0.1 amps and a potential difference reading of 0.73 volts. So if we go to our third marker reading, switch our circuit on, and we have a current reading of 0.06 amps, and our potential difference reading is 0.71 volts. Switch to our fourth marker reading, switch the circuit on, and we have a current reading of 0.04 amps and a potential difference reading of 0.70 volts. Go to our fifth reading, switch our circuit on, and we have a current reading of 0.03 amps and our potential difference reading across our diode is 0.69 volts. Okay. Now in the previous activities we've then transferred the wires across from the negative and positive of our supply here. So let's try that and see what happens. So if I disconnect this lead here, I'm going to switch our multimeters off. So this lead can now go into our switch. We need a really long lead now down to our diode. So next connect that onto there. Connect that there. Leave that lead there, and then we'll reconnect the lead onto our diode for our voltmeter. So now what we've done, we've swapped over our leads from our power supply. So let's see what happens. Let's switch our multimeters on. Our ammeter goes to the 10 amp setting and our voltmeter goes to the 20 volts DC setting. Let's switch our circuit on. And you can see we have a 0 current reading, and we have a negative 6.17 volt reading across our diode. That's because we've now wired our diode in the incorrect polarity. So our diode will only operate with the correct polarity. So what we need to do is we need to redo our wiring. So we go back to our original setup. Take our lead out from here. Disconnect that long lead, put our lead back to our switch and back to our diode, and then we can connect it back like this. Now that is our original setting, how we wired our circuit originally, but what we can do is we can reverse these two leads on our diode from our voltmeter. Okay, so we're ready to go. That variable resistor is down onto our first reading point. So if we switch our circuit on now, you can see that we have a negative reading on our voltmeter. So if we go through our various different points on our variable resistor, you can see that again our readings change, but this time we have a negative reading on our voltmeter. So that is activity 3 of the GCSE IV characteristics.